Okay, so this will be kind of a guide on how to win in versus lobbies. Right here, this is a 8-person versus lobbies that took place during Donut Seeds tournament. So today, or I guess yesterday, there was a tournament that was a 16-person invitational. You did 4 versus matches, and then the top 4 from each 8-person lobby went on to the finals. And that is this. This is the finals, and this is the 4th game of the finals. So it's actually the very last one. I won't spoil the result, but this took place on a stream, as you can see from chat in the top right. And yeah, so I'll just kind of explain the general strategy of how to win in these lobbies. It does depend on the size of the lobby and who's in it, but for these 8-person lobbies, I'll just kind of explain the thought process behind this. So to start, we go with otters and mosquitoes. This is the perfect start, exactly what I want, and you can see there that I just rolled for otters. I didn't even bother taking another unit, because the advantage of getting an otter is absolutely gigantic. When you buy an otter, you get +2/+2 for the mosquito, and you get +1/+1 for the otter. So you're getting +3/+3 total, which is kind of equivalent to like a sushi on turn 9, and that's a tier 5. So it's only turn 2, and you're getting like 3 stats for 3 gold. It's pretty crazy. And then the advantage of having one big unit is that it makes crab very good. I don't always recommend going cupcake crab. You don't necessarily need to do it, but I happened to roll a cupcake and a crab, so I decided to take them, and it worked out pretty well. And then freezing meat for the crab because of its stats are so uneven, and then the meat will really help out a lot. And then generally you want to level things up on turns 3 and 4 because early tier 3s are usually very good. There's a lot of good ones. There's giraffe, there's turtle, there's ox, there's badger, and those are all just very advantageous for you. So there's so many that usually you want to save all of your level ups for turn 3 and attempt to get as many as possible for those tier 3s. You can see I'm checking, so positioning depends a lot on what the majority of people are doing in the lobby. If there's a lot of people who are putting like a weak thing in front to pop melon armor, then you want to put something that's like slightly stronger in front so that it doesn't pop your melon. Most of the time you want your strongest units at the front, but again, if it has like melon or something, don't always want to put it in the front. The crab in front is just a nice, like, it's hard to just beat a crab in front. It's got 8 attack, 12 health. It just works out really well. I go for 2 crabs here. Sometimes I go for level 2 crab just to get an early tier 4 or tier 5. And also, if you happen to go penguin scaling, you can also scale the crab that way. On turns 5 and 6, you generally want to roll quite a bit if you don't immediately find what you're looking for. I kind of mentioned already what the good units are, but you're really looking for ox, badger, and turtle. Those are kind of the big 3 that really help you out. Melon armor is so good in this game because you end up keeping melon armor the entire time. Versus lobbies will typically go like 15, 20 turns, so you're going to need some scaling and you're going to need melon armor for the late game. And being able to get a turtle on turn like 5 and keeping that melon armor the entire game is extremely useful. Unfortunate breakpoints there. Breakpoints just referring to like the 1 HP difference that can sometimes happen that will cause a unit to live, and then it one-shots my biggest unit. So that's a big difference right there. So melon armor on the mosquito is great because we know that mosquito is going to stay around long term. The reason mosquito is so good is because once you get it to level 3, it can pop melon armor, and it has a 60% chance. Also, in case it wasn't obvious, I'm cutting all the downtime in between the versus lobbies. A lot of the time, I have to wait like a minute, so it's not like too exciting to just stare at the waiting for opponent screen for a minute. So I just decided to cut all that out, and that way it's a better viewing experience. But yeah, so mosquito's great late game. You don't actually have to get level 3. I just stuck with kind of level 2 for quite a bit. But if you can't get level 3 and go into bison, that's a pretty nice strategy as well. I actually don't really recommend going for level 3. Well, I recommend taking level 3 otter, but then selling it. Going otter bison is not always a great idea because the otter is just such a sellable unit. It's got pretty low stats. It's got no ability. You don't really want to keep it around long term, so I usually recommend selling that unless you get like a level 3 otter into early bison. And then even if that's the case, you usually want to go for a different level 3 so you can eventually sell it. But yeah, so we got melon armor, we got this crab, which I do also want to sell. You want things, versus lobbies go on long enough where you do need actual abilities and you can't just win with pure stats most of the time. So you do want to sell all of your units that have like no abilities. Parrot is actually just an extremely good unit. You can parrot ox, as I'm doing here. You can also parrot deer, and both of those are extremely good. It also lets you pivot later in the game to like parrot leopard or parrot fly. And those are just extremely good. You can also you go for level 2 parrot, and then like if you happen to have level 2 parrot, get early fly. You actually have an early level 2 fly, which is just a huge advantage, and it ends up being really good tempo and will let you win those turns, and also just like pretty good late game as well. So I'm buying cans, and the great thing about cans and parrot is it allows the parrot chain to work. It goes in order from attack, so highest goes first and copies the ability, but then if they have the same attack, it's actually just left to right. So the parrot chain will never work if it's the same attack, so buying a can really helps out to make sure the parrot chain works. And now we have double parrot ox, which means we're getting triple melon armor. We already have melon armor on the mosquito, so we have 4 melon armors already, and that's just a big advantage, and we're looking really good. I mean, this is kind of a game that I really high rolled. We got level 3 otter, we got the mosquito start, we got the ox, we got the parrots. This is kind of ideally what you want. You're not always going to get what you want, of course, and so you got to change your strategy accordingly, but I guess this is just a good example of being able to capitalize on getting good luck, I think. Yeah, so there we go, parrot deer, but we had double parrot ox. One thing you do gotta kind of worry about is dying to splash attack, because parrots usually die to splash attack if you don't have a ton of health, but it's pretty hard to get a lot of health on the parrots. Anyway, so turn 9, usually you want to wait for your level ups and try to get those early tier 6s, because there's quite a few that are good. You can get early cat, you can get early leopard, you can get early fly, and I guess maybe early dragon. So there's just a lot of good units that you can get on tier 6, and it's worth usually saving to try to get those units. I guess that applies for every tier. There's not like, I mean, tier 5s you can get early turkey, you can get early monkey, early seal. But so one thing that's really important to win lobbies is scaling. You don't always have to go scaling. There's a small chance you can go with like a summoning build and win, but the bigger the lobby is, the less of a chance that summoning builds have to win. And so we got early leopard, which means we're parroting leopard, which is just great against summoning teams. If we do happen to run into one, like we're gonna kill their entire team probably, because they probably don't have a ton of health. Also, even if they have melon armor, we can pop that with the mosquito, and then the parrot and leopard will go afterwards and kill things. So yeah, it's just a really good combo. In order to make sure the mosquito goes first, you do want to make sure it has higher attack than the parrot and leopard, but the great news is that the otter buffs from the beginning have really come in clutch and caused us to have a big mosquito so that it does continue to go first. And now we want to position the monkey so that it continues to buff the mosquito, and have higher attack, and then once we have like a good enough attack where we can still have higher attack, we can buff the leopard. I explained that poorly, but pretty much you just want higher attack on the mosquito. Anyway, I was debating whether to go cat here and instead and sell penguin and go cat. Cat is probably more stats per turn, but the problem with cat is that you have to buy a lot of food. When you buy a lot of food, you don't have chance to roll, and you don't have as many opportunities to level things up. And level things up is very important when you have parrot and leopard. So I decided to skip the cat. The penguin is just free scaling. Even though it's less stats, it's free, and it gives us time to level up the leopard to level 2, get level 3 parrot, also roll for melon armor. So just a lot of good things that we want to think about late game. You don't always get penguin monkey. Another good scaler is seal. If you can get like seal and cat, and that's just a great combination. Or if you somehow manage to get a swan, which I don't always recommend, but if you do happen to get like a really good start, you can maybe take a swan. But the stat nerfs make it so it's not always a great idea, because you can kind of lose the mid game if you end up taking swan, and the early game as well. So yeah, level 3 mosquito, very nice. A snake is also a decent counter to summon builds, but we already have the perfect counter right now. And at this point, we're going to put leopard in front so that it gets the monkey buff. The only problem here is that we need to get level 2 leopard so it gets scaled with the penguin, and also probably level 2 penguin. You usually want 2 scalers on your team, and monkey penguin is great because they're both automatic scaling. And the problem is we're not scaling the leopard quite fast enough here. The only thing that is going to be able to buff it is the penguin, because we can't put parrot in front, because then it wouldn't copy anything. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit tricky, which is why we want to get level 2 penguin immediately. You usually want to focus on leveling up your scalers on turns like 9, 10, 11 as early as possible, get everything to level 2, and then you kind of level everything else up. Hopefully you already have like some level 2s by then. But this is just a great endgame build. So Leopard is, I think, by far the best endgame unit to have, and uh, its ability at level 3, if you don't know, it shoots 3 rocks that deal damage based off its attack. It's 50% of its attack, and it rounds down. So right now it has 19 attack. It's going to deal 9 damage with one of its shots, and it's only level 1. But the parrot also does the same thing, which is going to deal 7 damage, but it's going to be 8 after this penguin buff, and it's going to deal that twice. And this is after the mosquito goes and already pops melon. Oh, and we're getting the buff from the monkey, so now it deals 11. And then once we get the level 2 leopard, it will also be scaling. So you can see this summon team. We sniped not the best units and actually, yeah, lose because of it. So that's pretty surprising. One thing that doesn't work is actually 1-up parrot. Just a random fun fact, I guess. You can't 1-up parrot because when it respawns, it has no ability. So just a little helpful information there. And then this turn, we're going to move the mosquito back to the front. We're pretty much just alternating turns with putting mosquito in front and leopard in front, but it's usually worth it, especially with level 3 mosquito. Maybe like with level 2 mosquito it wouldn't have been as good, but right now this is the way to do it. And we're pretty much just looking to level stuff up. There's not too much else to do right now. We got melon armor, we got steak. Sometimes steak is actually just better because people do tend to run with a lot of mosquitoes, and if that's the case, then your melon can easily get popped. And steak, can't really go away. I mean, it can get kind of wasted on like a fly summon, but most of the time it ends up being pretty helpful. But again, you want to focus on leveling the scales up first before you take those things usually. I mean, melon's almost always worth it to try to get, but besides that. Yeah, so we've got the endgame team. If you can get mosquito at the start, parrot leopard, or tiger leopard in the end is just the way to go. And eventually we will sell like the penguin and get a tiger behind the parrot, but again we have to wait a decent amount before we can actually scale this parrot. So the badger bee is really strong still. There is an easy way to counter is that you just put honey on the thing in the back, and then if it trades, the badger no longer will kill the honeybee, so you're pretty much guaranteed to draw, which is pretty nice. And now we're just rolling for level 3 leopard, level 3 parrot, and at this point it's probably too late for level 3 monkey, so don't need to worry about that. Once the lives, everyone starts getting down to lethal, you can either look for level ups or you can just look for food if you already have all the level ups. And now back to leopard in front. One little important threshold is to get above 30 health, because then if they have a 50-50, they don't one-shot you through melon, and that's pretty useful. But again, we run into the summon team. Let's see if it's a different result this time. Yep, so much better. Once we get that level 2 parrot, level 2 leopard things, it's really hard for summon builds to survive. If you don't get mosquito, this strat isn't quite as good, obviously, because you don't get to pop melon first, and so you might not kill a lot of things. Did get that honey on the penguin because they have badger bee. And yeah, so at this point, once we get level 3 parrot, we're pretty much just going to buy food to try to scale everything to 50-50. One random thing is once you actually do get 50-50s, or once you get the mosquito to 50 attack, you kind of want to keep the leopard below it, but at the same time, if everyone on their team is a 50-50, then it's really not a terrible idea to actually get it to 50-50 because it won't kill anything otherwise. You need that 25 attack. If you leave it at 49 attack, then it's only going to deal 24 damage twice, or like it could deal 24 damage and the parrot could deal 24 damage, and you won't actually kill a 50 health unit. So sometimes it is worth it to just max everything, even if it becomes RNG what goes first. Just buying pairs for the parrot, because they do need to scale hopefully to 50-50, but it's going to be kind of tricky to get there. And then once we get everything to 50-50, sell penguin, replace with tiger. Do want a 1-up or honey on the back for tiger because of the badger bee, just in case. And that's pretty much the game plan here. And it's looking very good. You don't necessarily need this team to win, but this is the most consistent way to win, I'll say. You can win with like parrot fly, or just, again, summoning builds if no one goes leopard, or just like 50-50 units a lot quicker than this. I got plenty of time to scale everything, but sometimes you can outscale in the mid game and I would be dead by then. Who knows? And then just repositioning, probably just buy a pair, get that parrot above the 30 health threshold. there's not too much to else, not too much to do really. We've got pretty much the perfect team. So yeah, this is pretty nice. Again, like the bigger the lobby, the more important it is to have leopard. Once you start getting like 20-person lobbies, it is kind of a requirement to get leopard in the end game, which also makes mosquito even more important to get at the start. And then, there's other good end game units. So badger's pretty good, but it does kind of lose to tiger leopard or parrot leopard because it can die and then kill something else on their team. Rooster's a really good end game unit. Fly is still a great end game unit to pop melon. And yeah, so being able to have a spot on your team that you can sell, like one of the scalers, to eventually put in like a fly or a tiger is pretty nice as well. And then I believe this is the last round. Yeah, decided to put melon on the badger, which actually wasn't quite needed until I got 50 attack on the parrot. But I mean, we were going to get there anyway. So that's how I ended up winning this lobby. It varies a lot. Just because penguin monkey worked here, we got really lucky because we got early leopard. We saw a turn 9 monkey. There's a lot of things that had to go right, but this is just one example of kind of how to win versus lobbies. Anyway, thanks for watching. See ya.